we've heard much of what Bernie said there before, but we know we still like hearing it. It's inspirational. It gives us hope, and none of the mainstream outlets will show it.
Look, I think that his speeches are extremely important, and I think that that's part of the reason why he hasn't given up yet. Does Bernie genuinely think he's going to win the nomination? I don't know. But what I do know is that the longer he stays in the race, the more time he has to spread important messages about what we can do to save our democratic process, right? Yeah. So I like that he's remained in the race. I know that a lot of Democrats disagree with that because they feel like, he's taking away from Hillary Clinton being able to attack Trump. She has to still continue competing with Bernie instead. Whatever. Aww. This is still a race, okay? And so I love that he's using the time that he has to have these very long but important speeches about our political system, various political issues. He's the only person who brings up climate change, and that's also extremely important. And that's part of the reason why a lot of young people want to vote for him. Yeah. We're the people who are going to inherit this disastrous environment. So I love that he's raising awareness about these issues. Yeah, and there's a couple of core issues that he's on the right side of. That we talk about him constantly, like her position on the death penalty, her position on fracking. Right. Her position on the death penalty, it would be so easy to just have the right position because she believes it should be withheld for cases of terrorists. Mm-hmm. How many terrorists do we execute? Seriously, that's how you're going to allow it to continue so that someday we can execute one terrorist rather than locking him up for the rest of his life. No, take a stand, be a leader, be presidential. But anyway, side note. Well, that just goes to, I think that is emblematic of Hillary Clinton, that one issue right there. So if you're really against the death penalty, that doesn't change, the reasons you're against it doesn't change when you change the person you're killing. Yeah. Right? So it's like, I'm against it because of these reasons. Oh, but if it's another person of a different religion or nationality or whatever, then it's okay. I have a double standard for human beings. Yeah. I only like certain human beings in certain conditions, because that's what that says. So it just reveals that so she's going to take a principled stand on something, but she'll take a political stand on it and say it's okay to do it. So this is what, it's just, she says two things at once. I'm against the death penalty, I'm for the death penalty. Yeah. I remember when the gun debate came up after the Newtown shooting. Obama finally came forward and started, speaking aggressively about the need for gun control. And one thing that really stood out to me was there was a change in polling among Americans regarding whether or not they would be in favor of certain gun regulations. Obama waited until public opinion indicated that the majority of Americans wanted some sort of, common sense gun regulation. And so he responded to the polls, and that was when he got a little aggressive about doing something about gun violence in the country. And I feel like Hillary is another example of that, right? You need a leader, someone who not only leads by example, but someone who makes the tough decisions. And even if the majority of the country is in favor of the death penalty, you have to look at the statistics. You have to consider the numbers of people who have been killed by this country when in reality they were innocent. Yeah. And you need to take a stand. You need to educate the country about what the reality is. That's what a leader does. And that's what Bernie's doing right now. And every time I watch these speeches, even though I love the fact that he's speaking about these issues, as I've mentioned before in the show, it's political blue balls, right? I watch it and every single time I think to myself, why can't we finally elect a leader? And I know that there are still people that believe that there's a possibility that it's going to happen for Bernie. I hope it does. Well, I'll just say this, and I forgot where I heard this, but let's remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June. I forgot where I heard that, but let's remember that. I forgot where I heard that. I heard that somewhere. I don't know where I heard it, but let's remember that. Plus, there is somebody could be indicted. Let's not forget that. That's also true. Let's also not forget that if Bernie cranks it up, I think all he has to do is win 65% of California. You have to double check those numbers, and then he'll win. So there's a lot of... it was 64% of the remaining delegates. Okay. Yeah. So something like that. Something like that, yeah. Let's catch fire. I say, don't freak out. I'm not kidding. That's possibility. How many more stories can we hear about the sickness that is in our body politic right now?
How many the money is just I mean, it seems like every day another story, and it's like jaw-dropping. We just heard yesterday that all that money we thought that George Clooney was raising for down-ticket Democrats, which nobody can really be against, that isn't going to them. It's actually not going to down-ticket.
There was a follow-up to that, actually. So it turns out that she was taking back all that money because she knows that money corrupts politicians, and she didn't want to do that to so many state parties.
Are you taking classes at the UCB?
She's just trying to
this
save our
fucking
political
guy.
system, you know?
Yeah.